The night was cold and eerily silent, with a thin mist curling between the dark trees of the forest. Sarah, a single mother of two, was hurrying home after her late shift at the diner. She had taken the shortcut through the woods, something she never liked doing, but her children were alone, and she wanted to reach them quickly. Suddenly, she heard a faint, muffled sound, like someone crying for help. At first, she froze, her heart racing. Fear told her to keep walking, to mind her own business. But then she thought of her children and how she'd want someone to help them if they were ever in danger. Following the sound, she stumbled upon a shallow pit, and to her horror, she saw a man buried up to his neck in dirt, his face bruised and bloody. "Help me," he gasped, barely conscious. Without thinking, Sarah dropped to her knees and began clawing at the cold, damp earth with her bare hands. The man's breathing was ragged, and she knew he didn't have much time. Her fingers bled, but she didn't stop, fueled by a surge of determination. Finally, she managed to free him enough to pull him out. He collapsed against her, trembling violently. "Who did this to you?" she whispered. His eyes met hers, wide with desperation, and he rasped, We don't have much time. They'll be back." Sarah's first instinct was to get him to safety, but the man was too weak to walk. Gritting her teeth, she half carried, half dragged him through the woods until they reached the old dirt road. There, she flagged down a passing truck, begging the driver to take them to the nearest hospital. As they rode, the man began to mumble incoherently, speaking of betrayal and danger. Sarah couldn't make sense of his words, but she caught fragments: partner, money, contract. When they arrived at the small town hospital, doctors rushed him into the emergency room. Sarah sat in the waiting area, exhausted and trembling. She considered leaving, but something inside her urged her to stay. Hours later, the man's condition stabilized, and a doctor allowed Sarah to visit briefly. The man's eyes fluttered open when he saw her. His voice was weak, but urgent. "You saved my life," he said. "But now, you're in danger too. They saw you." Sarah's stomach twisted with fear. Before she could ask who they were, his monitors beeped frantically, and doctors pushed her out of the room. 2 days later, Sarah returned to the hospital. The man was sitting upright now, cleaner and calmer. A police officer stood nearby, taking his statement. When the officer left, the man gestured for Sarah to come closer. His tone was softer this time, but there was an intensity in his gaze. "My name is Richard Hale," he revealed. "I'm the CEO of Hale Enterprises. My business partner tried to kill me to steal everything I built. If you hadn't found me, he would have succeeded." Sarah's jaw dropped. She couldn't believe the man she had dragged from the dirt was a millionaire. "Why me?" she asked in a whisper. Richard leaned forward, gripping her hand. "Because of what you did, they'll come after you next. But I can protect you." Sarah shook her head, overwhelmed. "I have 2 children. I just wanted to get home safely." Richard gave a small, pained smile. "You saved me without hesitation. That's rare. I won't let you pay the price for my enemy's greed." He reached into a folder beside him and slid a document across the table. "This is a legal trust. If anything happens to me, everything I own goes to you and your children." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Weeks later, Richard's partner was arrested after a police investigation confirmed the attempted murder. Sarah's life, however, had been turned upside down. She had been forced to move into a safe house with her children under police protection. Through it all, Richard kept his promise, ensuring she and her kids had everything they needed. On the night before he was set to testify in court, Richard asked to see Sarah. Sitting together in a quiet room, he whispered the same words he had spoken in the woods, but now they carried a different weight. "We don't have much time." Sarah frowned, confused. Richard took her hands in his. "I've built a life of wealth and power, but tonight, I realized the truth. None of it matters without someone who sees you as a human being. You saved me, Sarah, not just my life, but my soul. When this is over, I don't want to just protect you. I want us to build a future together." Sarah's eyes welled with tears. She had never imagined that a single moment of courage would lead to this. The forest where she had once been afraid to walk alone had given her more than she ever dreamed, a second chance at life, love, and safety for her children. And as Richard faced his enemies in court the next day, Sarah knew the habits of bravery and kindness she'd lived by had changed both their lives forever.